It's like our very own podcast or something.
Right?
Yeah, so I read through your check-in. You had a good week. You survived fall break with everybody.
Hmm.
You got your pie slice. You did the,
Yes,
what was it, the cinnamon cream cheese or something?
I did.
It sounded good. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
sounded like a pretty well-balanced week.
Hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that I really liked that you asked about in your check-in was that I thought we could just kind of jump off with was how do you know when it's time for maintenance?
Yes.
Yeah, and that's a really good question, and it's actually very individual to people, depending on their circumstances. So usually with people, I'll look for a couple of things. I'll look for overall adherence, like
Okay.
does their adherence level to their deficit start to drop, right? Like
Hmm.
maybe
Hmm.
fatigue and hunger levels are getting to a point where they're just like, I just need a little break. So we look at like the physiological symptoms. And then, maybe you've gotten to a place that you're really happy to maintain, right? Like,
Hmm.
I think some people are like, well, I haven't gotten my dream body yet, and usually people go through multiple phases of fat loss and then maintaining fat loss and maintaining to be able to get to a point. I don't even think there is a dream body, to be honest, but like to a point where they're like at a place they're very happy with their physique and they
Right.
want to maintain that. So you don't
Hmm.
have to be at your quote unquote dream body to decide to maintain. You could just be at a point that you're like, you know what? I've been doing this for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and I think I just need a little bit of a breather. I need to just like want a little more flexibility in this season of my life. And I want
Hmm.
to be able to really focus on building muscle and let that be my primary goal and just getting really good at maintenance. And then, you may have like down the line, like, okay, I want to go back into fat loss at this season. So
Okay.
those are just some of the things I look at for people is just adherence, how they're doing physically and emotionally, where they're at
Hmm.
with their goals. And then with some clients that I work with one-on-one, like, all the time, we'll like even plan things out for the year, right? So we'll say, okay,
Okay.
we're going to do fat loss for this 12 weeks, then we're going to maintain, for 3 months, 6 months, or whatever it is, depending on the person and their goals. And then we're going to go back into another season of fat loss. So, um,
Hmm.
and as and maintenance isn't a waste of time. I think sometimes we think of maintenance as like nothing changing, right? I guess in the word, that definition of itself is maintaining,
Yeah.
right? But during that time, weight may maintain around the same 5 pounds, but that doesn't mean body composition is staying exactly the same. Like the hope
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
that during that maintenance phase, you are putting on more muscle because when we're in a fat loss phase, that is not an ideal place to put on muscle. Like
Right.
the what we're hoping for in a fat loss phase is that we're maintaining your current muscle mass. And so
Hmm.
then when we go into maintenance, you're getting sufficient calories to be able to support the muscle building goal. So the maintenance is a reference to weight. Um, but not necessarily body composition. Like we
Hmm.
can still see improvements in body composition and maintenance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I've always wondered, it's like, well, how do you, go into fat loss, but also build muscle at the same time? So that makes sense that you're really
Yeah.
just maintaining muscle during the fat loss, and then you're going to build muscle more in maintenance. Okay.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think they have built muscle when they're in a fat loss phase,
Yeah.
but it's only because they were losing fat and can see the muscle more clearly.
Hmm. Hmm.
I remember the first time I went through a really successful fat loss phase, I thought I had just built so much muscle, but really what I was doing was revealing the muscle I had been spending months prior building. And I just didn't see the definition because I had a cozy little layer on the top, right?
Right. Yeah. 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 Uh-huh.
And then in consecutive fat loss phases and maintenance phases, those results got better and better. Like each fat loss phase the body composition improved and the results looked
Right.
better. So,
Okay.
I
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't think people need to be in this constant state of fat loss depending on your goal. Like if someone has a significant amount of weight to lose, I love the crock pot method of like just that slow simmer of fat loss, like just trying to set them in a place where they can be losing weight and we just kind of keep at it. Like it can be a sustainable fat loss. Like some people can be in fat loss for a year or a year and a half if they are,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or be obese and need to lose a significant amount. But most people that are, want to lose, maybe 10, 15, 20 pounds or something, I
Right.
would always recommend just like a kind of a shorter, like, intense effort and then taking a little break, and then another short, intense effort and then taking a little break. Short is
Okay.
relative, right? Two to
Yeah,
three
yeah.
months feels long time for people, but in like overall fat loss, it's a, still a smaller chunk of time. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does that answer
Yeah.
your
And so
question?
then, yes, yes. So then basically where you get to kind of the body composition that you're happy with, then that's where you could stay in maintenance majority of the time.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Like in the case of you in particular, like when I look at, maybe what your overall goals are, I know you've signed up for the extension for the fat loss phase, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
going to go
Yes.
another 4 weeks, which I think is
Yes.
great. I think you were still in kind of this like learning curve, trying to reestablish
Yeah.
some of these habits. And sometimes that takes a little bit. We kind of talked about that in the last call. But
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like your momentum's picking up. We're seeing
Right.
some really good progress. And so I was really glad to see that you were signing up for the extension because I think you can still be making some good progress in this next 4 weeks while we still have that
Mm-hmm.
momentum and your energy and your motivation is there. Um, but then I think it would be great, after that 4 weeks, like it seems for most people, it's a good time as you're getting into the holidays, like into December, and maybe you want a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more flexibility. Take advantage of that, right? Knowing that there are
Right.
seasons of maybe um like a little bit more food and wanting that flexibility. I really like when I can kind of plan for clients or plan for those in the fat loss phase to have that season where there's a little more flexibility. But the biggest challenge
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
to not go off the road, right?
Right. Right.
Right. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
recognizing there's that range, staying within that range, and it's not that on off switch I think we've talked about.
Right, right. Yeah, and
Um,
I think that's where I can see just the habits of the water and the walking and all of that, like making sure that those stay in place too. They all add to the bigger picture.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I really like when people have those foundational habits in place even prior to fat loss. And
Hmm.
that's why I really push it in the Uplift program. Like
Yeah.
like there's a lot of uplifters that aren't necessarily in a fat loss phase, but I'm like, are we walking? Are we getting our protein in? Are we hydrating? Are we getting the strength
Yeah.
training? Like all of that should be the stuff we do all the time,
Yes.
regardless of
Yeah.
whatever phase we are in. And
Hmm.
that's why then the transition into doing a fat loss phase is just like a simple adjustment of a few levers. And really it's just
Yeah.
like adjusting the food a bit, adjusting the activity a bit to make sure we were creating that deficit. And it's
Hmm.
not so like, life changing, right?
Yeah. Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so hopefully when
Hmm.
you go into maintenance, you're still going to be eating the same types of foods you're eating. I love, like you've
Hmm.
talked about making adjustments to some of the recipes you already are feeding your family to make them a
Hmm.
little bit more, protein heavy, macro friendly,
Right.
which is a benefit to everybody, really.
Yeah. 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 It's just I try to eat the same food, but just it's a matter of how much
Yes.
and then kind of what you pair it with, like um, lettuce or a low carb tortilla compared to chips or tortilla, something
Yeah.
like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, just a little change, but mostly the same.
Yeah, and I think that's really powerful because I think well, at least I grew up in I think a lot of us grew up in this phase where we saw our moms dieting a lot, and we knew when they were on a diet and
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
it was like all of a sudden they were eating everything different than us,
Right.
or they weren't even eating with us.
Eating.
And
Yeah.
and I just thought, oh, I don't want that to be the case.
Hmm.
And I don't think my kids ever know what my physique goals are, right? Like
Right.
it's just what we're doing. Like
Yes.
this is what we eat. This is how, and we're not perfect. We have pizza night on Fridays,
Yeah.
our pizza
So do we.
night. Yeah, we do a
Yeah. Yeah.
dessert on Sunday, but it's not everything all the time, right?
Right.
And
Hmm. Hmm.
so it's modeling that moderation and balance and,
Yes. Yeah. I
and
think the biggest thing that my son he's seen is the walking. He's like, "Are you going on
Mhm.
another walk? You're going on a walk?
Yeah.
Oh, okay." I'm like, "Yep, going on another one. Going on the third one today or whatever."
Yeah, I was actually thinking of you today because I saw someone posting. It was actually that account Slow Slimmer, and she's lost
Mhm.
like almost 100 pounds. And she
Yeah.
was talking about, I think we talked last week about like making your life a little harder in like the best way, right?
Yes. Yes.
And how
Like
those
going into Target.
Yes, going into
Yeah.
Target, parking further away, taking the stairs, all those like little things really do add up. And she was saying, so I thought of you when she said, if you're waiting, you're walking, you know? And she
Yeah.
goes, and I'm not breaking a sweat, I'm just meandering, I'm just tooling around.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's funny.
I love that. And then I have another friend, you maybe follow her, Erin what's her last name? Anyway, she's another coach, but she always says, if I'm scrolling, I'm strolling.
Oh, uh-huh.
And so
Hmm.
she's like, if I'm gonna scroll on my phone, I just like hop on my walking pad and just go really slow or, and I just thought,
Yes.
well, that's a really great habit to attach to something that
Hmm.
is
That is
fun and
good.
maybe feels a little indulgent, right? And so you're just thinking,
Yeah.
okay, well, if I'm gonna scroll, I'm gonna stroll.
I know. Yeah.
And it may do one of two things. Either you're walking more or scrolling less, but both are positive
Right.
things.
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh. And then when they're paired together, it's just a little
Yeah.
win-win.
Yeah, for sure. How has I know your steps have increased significantly in this fat loss phase. Like probably you were going from what, 5 to 6,000 a day to 9 to 10,000 a day now. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
How has that been for you?
I mean, it's definitely I have to think about it. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, what are my steps? How are my steps? So it really helps to get something in early in the day. Like if I can
Hmm.
get 3 to 4,000 steps in early before like 10 or 11 o'clock, then I feel like it really sets me up for a pretty high day, the 9 to 10K. But if I check in at lunch and it's like, oh, I have 2,000 steps, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
No,
that's
it's like when
work
you're
to do.
60 grams short of protein at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
or something, right?
right, right.
Yeah, so like a lot
Yeah.
of intention, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But it is nice. I mean, I don't mind it at all. The weather's a lot cooler now, so that's nice in Texas. It used to be 100 degrees like all day long every
Oh,
day. Yeah. So you would just sweat the second you stepped outside. So
yeah.
that's nice. And then about probably 95% of the time, my husband, he'll go with me when we go around the neighborhood. And so it's a nice time to just chat and talk with him.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
During
that's
COVID,
nice.
my husband and I walked a lot together, and I'm gonna have to, I mean, I should find this, but we found like this little app that it was one of those like asking each other questions app, because
Uh-huh.
you find yourself like talking about the bills or the kids and all of that, which
Right.
is fine, but it's not
Yeah.
always very connecting. And
Yes.
so we started asking each other these little random questions, and it was actually so fun. And I got to know
Yeah.
him, it's like what was on his mind. You think you know somebody really well. I've
Right.
been married to my husband for 25 years, and
Uh-huh.
how long have you been married to your husband?
Almost 20.
So
So
almost 20.
yeah.
So yeah, so a
Yeah.
long, long time.
Yep. Yep.
And but we found that it was just, we were getting exercises again, like pairing those things. We were getting exercise, but we were nurturing our relationship at the same time.
Hmm.
And we weren't just going over the same three topics over and over again,
Right.
which
Yeah.
can
Yeah. That's
be stressful. So I'll have to find
hmm
what we
that's a good
use, but
idea.
because it was really nice, and we just would like, okay, who's going to ask the question today, and then we would
Yeah.
like just discuss it back and forth, and so
That's
yeah.
a
So I
great
love to hear
idea.
you're bringing your husband into it as well. So
hmm And
um,
I always ask, our son, he's 13. I'm like, you want to come? He's like, no. I'm like, okay, well, one day I'll get you. You'll come on the walk.
yeah, but it's so powerful too, right? I mean, what we
Yeah.
do versus what we say is like the what we do is so much
Yeah,
more powerful,
for
right?
sure. Hmm.
We try to, pray in the morning together as a family and read a scripture or something. And my kids like could care, like they just look like they're dead to the world when we're trying to read the scripture.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents trying to do the same thing. I told my husband, I was like, I know it doesn't feel like it's working, but I don't think that's the point. I think they need to
Yeah.
understand that it's important to us. Like it's
Hmm.
important, it just the same way like physical
Yeah.
strength and, like nurturing ourselves with good nutrition and
Hmm.
exercise. And like we also value the spiritual nourishment and all of that. And so they
Yeah,
might not be taking part in it, but it doesn't mean they're not noticing,
for
right?
sure. Right. Right. Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
love that
Yeah.
your
It's a
son was like,
priority.
you're walking a lot. Like he's noticing, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. And even my husband the other day is like, where do you want me to park? You want me to park out here on the parking lot? I was like, yeah, let's park out
Aw.
here.
That's awesome. I love
Hmm.
that. I love to see the domino effect these habit changes have on everybody. And it sounds like you're doing it in such a positive way, that you're not making a big deal, like mom's on a diet, mom's walking more, and like when we have to make
Hmm.
dinner and like like the classic mom slamming the cupboards around because they're mad that they
Right.
have to do it. And instead it's just like that ownership of choice,
Oh.
like this is what
Hmm.
I'm doing, and
Yeah,
you guys can join
for
me if
sure.
you would like to.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. I will think they might be glad to see a little less cottage cheese. If
Ah!
they're not fans of cottage cheese, but I love cottage cheese. So I use it a lot in recipes and sometimes, and they don't really mind that, but they're not just going to scoop it out of the carton
No.
and eat it like I will. So I think they'll probably be glad when some of the cottage cheese recipes fade.
Well, they may not.
Hmm.
Yeah, a good one
Yeah.
that my kids don't always know when they're eating cottage cheese is, I think we talked about this, but like I'll blend it and then I'll put
Oh
ranch flavoring or like the mix
yeah.
in
Hmm.
to it. And then they think and then I'll put the vegetables out and they're just like, oh, this is a yummy dip. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
sorry, you're eating cottage cheese
Yeah.
again.
Little do you know. I know I haven't blended it yet. So I do have a recipe to try tonight. It's like a cottage cheese taco bowl type thing with
Yeah.
ground beef and roasted
Oh,
sweet
oh,
potatoes.
I've seen that
Yeah.
one. The
Yeah, and the
viral.
hot
Yeah.
honey. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yum, yum. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna try that tonight, but it says to blend it, and I was like, I don't know if I could pull it over on them if I blend it or not. So maybe I will. Maybe I'll try.
Yeah. I mean, they might just like, oh, it's just a sauce. Just put it on the
Yeah,
side.
because he likes Greek yogurt. Like
Oh,
we'll do Greek yogurt in place of like sour cream or something on a chili. We'll just do a
yeah.
little dollop of Greek yogurt. So maybe the blended will be
Well, if he likes
a
Greek
nice
yogurt,
surprise.
that's great too, because it has
Yeah,
pretty similar amounts of protein. Usually people like blended cottage cheese more than Greek yogurt because Greek yogurt kind of has that tangier flavor
it
to it.
is. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
Hmm.
great.
Okay. I'll see
Um,
how it goes.
There was a meal I was just reminded of that I made the other day that was so easy, but my kids love Korean beef bowls.
Oh,
And it's just so easy. And I don't know how Korean it is, but it kind of
yeah.
tastes like bulgogi a little bit. But I'll just
Uh-huh.
get like extra lean ground beef and I'll do like a couple of pounds of it just so I have lots. And I'll just, saute it up. And then I will add like that soy yaki from Trader Joe's, or you can use, any sort of like kind of Asian sauce.
Yeah.
And I'll get it really like yummy and crispy. So it's not like soupy or anything, just enough to kind of
Okay.
make a good glaze. And you can add in like chopped up peppers or onions or whatever. But one of my favorite things to do just because it's so easy is I'll get like a bag of like like broccoli, kale, like kind of some sort of coleslaw mix, like cabbage or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, sort of like Asian
Okay.
type vegetables. And so
Yeah.
once the meat's like really like nice and crispy and sizzly, I'll just throw a bag of that in and it wilts down. So
Nice.
it's like all in
Mm-hmm.
there and wilted down. And I'll serve it with like a little bit of rice. And the kids' favorite thing is I'll do over easy eggs like on the top
Oh,
of it.
yes. Yes.
And we'll
I
chop up like
love eggs.
cucumbers and carrots to kind of sprinkle on the top, and I'll have the sauce on the counter if anyone wants to add a little extra, or
Yeah.
sriracha mayo, a little drizzle of that on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like it
Mm-hmm.
literally takes 20 minutes to make. It's so easy
Nice.
and it's protein heavy. And we had a ton the other day. And then what I'll do is I'll put them all in like little individual when I put the leftovers away, I'll just pre-measure them into like little
Oh,
containers.
that's smart. Mm-hmm.
And so it's just kind of because everybody is lazy, lazy, lazy. And like, but if it's just there, it's like putting the vegetables out, they'll eat it if you cut it up and put it
Yes.
out.
Yes. You
I
wash the
just,
fruit. Yes.
yes, exactly. And so if I have all these like old takeout containers that like,
Mm-hmm.
your stuff comes in, so I'll just make like 4 or 5 meals or whatever the leftovers equate to, stick them in, and I just noticed throughout the week. Like I used to eat them for lunch, but now I can tell my 16-year-old wants them all the time. My husband wants them all the time, and I just kind of watch them
That's
dwindle as
great.
the week goes on. So if
Mm-hmm.
you like portion them out into individual portions, they will get eaten. But if it's in this big, daunting looking
Right.
container, they're like,
Yeah. Never mind.
yeah,
Don't
I
want to
made
measure
like
it.
a
Yeah.
big
Don't want to.
soup or
Yeah.
whatever that I know my son loves, but I think he's avoiding it because I made the mistake of putting it all into one big
The whole
container
thing.
instead
Yeah.
of like spoon feeding it into his
So
little
true.
mouth. So it's like,
Yeah. Uh,
if you cut it, they will come. If you
yep.
portion it
Yep.
out, they will eat it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. That's a
yeah,
great idea. Yeah. That recipe sounds great. Yeah.
yeah.
I need to, I always follow recipes and I have tons of recipes saved. And so I can normally find something that we want to eat or that we like, and we have a normal rotation too. But I'd also like to have just kind of those you just like throw together,
Yes,
just they just kind of come together, like what you were
yes.
describing. So yeah, I'll try to
Yeah, and that's
mix
a
that
great
in.
meal. Like this would be a good example of I call it my name your adventure meals, where
Yeah,
it's components of meals. So if like it's the meat mixture, I don't even think about like what the macros are in the vegetables I put in. I figure those are just like
yeah,
a bonus, right? So I just am like, that's
yeah.
the meat mixture. And if I was
Hmm.
tracking really diligently, I might like, try to figure out how much sauce I used or whatever. But
Yeah,
I do
kind
not
of
go
measure.
too sauce heavy. I just like keep
Hmm.
it so it gets the good flavor. And then you've got the rice, and then you've got like, maybe something else or whatever it is. And they're just like these components that people can kind of put together.
Right.
But it is still this like easy throw together meal. I think that's why we grew up on casseroles, like our mothers discovered
Yeah.
casseroles, which were great, because it was a
Yeah.
throw together meal. It's like, I think that's our version now of our mother's casseroles is like the name
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
adventure meal. We just like put the components out there, like bowls, whatever it is, and they
Yes.
can just put it together. So,
Yeah.
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 There's a few meals that are like not like that. I have like a pasta dish that's very like pretty
Hmm.
protein heavy, but it's one of those that at one point I took the time to figure out the macros for the entire recipe. And
Yeah.
now whenever I do it, I kind of just know, like this is how much to eat and that's how much calories and
Hmm.
protein and whatever is in it. So there are some of
Right.
those recipes you kind of have to put in the grunt
Yes.
work to figure it out, and then after that you're golden. So
Right, right. And that's probably 90% of the recipes that I use are things that I've already put into the
the
I
app.
use Chronometer, to track the
Hmm.
macros and everything. So once I put them in there, but when I try something new, I'm like, oh, I've got to go put it in the app, which I do, but it's just that extra step. So yeah, it'd be nice just to have different components because then you can just plug those all in just
Yeah.
individually and it comes together pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
And I think that's
Yeah. So,
part of the hardest part, the most daunting part when people start tracking is that you're just kind of building a new habit and a new skill, and you're
mhm.
almost like building up a personal library as
Yes.
well. And
Yes.
then once you've done it for so long, it's already there. You've already done all the work.
Mhm.
And so adding
Hmm.
to it's not a big deal. Or if you're not tracking super strictly, at least you have a reference point of like, okay, well, I know
Yeah.
this is how much rice I usually have, and this is how much wheat I
Yes.
usually have, or whatever.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
So,
and it's really eye-opening when you first start tracking too, because I had no idea like how much an ounce is or 28 grams or how much is a cup or, a quarter of a cup. So
mhm.
that was really interesting when you start to much less, carbs or protein or fat, just serving size. I had no really idea of what it looked like.
Yeah, and that's why it bums me out when I hear people disparage tracking because I think, well, it is actually such a useful tool
Yeah.
if you're doing, but again, it's like the way that you are in relationship to it, right? So
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
if you're using it as this tool to help you to bring awareness, to help you meet a goal,
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's really just, it's a lot of just math and science, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And then you can, but if you're rigid about everything at all times and you're freaked out and if you're taking your scale with you to restaurants, that's where I'm like,
Right. Yeah.
maybe you're
Yeah.
not in a good relationship to this tool,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was really, I thought it was just really, it was interesting. It was really informative the first time I started tracking.
Yeah.
It was probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. I was like, oh, okay, that's a carb and this is a fat. And yeah, so it can be really insightful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
simpler than I just think I remember thinking the path to fat loss and fitness felt very mystical for the longest time. Like, how
Mm,
is everybody doing this? And what does, but when I figured out macros and tracking, I thought, oh, it is just math and science. I don't
yeah.
like math and science that much, but it's
Yeah.
very simple.
Right. And it's all kind of data,
Yeah.
you just use it and it's part of an experiment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found it
Hmm.
quite liberating actually. Like instead of being in the
Hmm.
dark all the time, like
Yes.
am I
Yeah.
eating enough or am I not eating enough or
Right.
I was like I had a solid plan. Oh,
Hmm.
I just have
Hmm.
to stay within these numbers and things happen,
Right. Right.
It's not always easy. I don't always love it,
Hmm.
but at least I know what the path is and I know
Yes.
how to yield those results. And it's not as complicated as everybody makes it out to be,
Right. Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Hmm.
No, very cool. Well, I've actually even got your response written up to you for next week.
Oh,
So,
nice.
but I'm super excited that you're extending and we'll
Yeah.
just
Me
continue
too.
on, with what we're doing for the next month. And
Great.
then I think for you personally, it will be great to just give yourself a break during the holidays. And you can
Hmm.
decide if you want to do fat loss again after the holidays. You can kind of make that assessment or, further down. I will be
Okay.
offering just information for the group. I will be doing
Yeah.
another 8-week fat loss after the holidays, so in January.
Okay.
And then I will be doing a spring fat loss. So there'll be two different session of fat loss in the winter and the spring. So
Oh,
you
that's
could
good to know.
decide like, okay, I am ready, maybe I want to lose a little more. What maybe, and so maybe you could jump back in on January, but or you could wait until spring or not at all. I mean, it really is just kind of a
Okay.
personal choice and what you feel, what your goals are and what you're feeling emotionally ready for, the season of your life. I will say for
Hmm.
most people, fat loss isn't, we're never going to find the most convenient, perfect time where nothing is
Yeah.
going on, right?
Right.
But there are
Yeah.
different seasons that are a little
Sure.
easier to kind of push those goals than others. So
Hmm.
anyway,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. And then I assume like just keep taking progress pictures and things like that too. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
the
take
whole
take
time.
progress
Yeah,
pictures.
as
That so
much
I
as
actually
possible.
was gonna make a note in your check-in that I need
Okay.
updated progress and
Oh
measurements.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'll
so
do that.
we can kind of continue to gauge body composition. And then I know you're not using MyFitnessPal because it doesn't sync with the app, which is fine. But if you could continue just to send me your food
Yes.
logs. That would be great
Yes.
because then I
I'll
can
do
kind
that.
of see a bigger picture of where your nutrition's at. And also it helps with adherence overall in a more
Right.
strict fat loss phase. Like if you
Yes.
know you have to
Yes.
send it off, you're like, okay.
I know. Yeah, I know. I take the screenshots and then I just hate to bombard you all the time, but I'll try to send them like just in
You
one
you
foul
can do
swoop.
it whatever way works best for you.
Okay.
I know when I have to look and see everything, and I guess personally it is nice when I get it all in one big chunk so I don't have to scroll through. So you could just
Right.
wait till the end of the week and then just send them all over.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'll do
But
that for
whatever
sure.
works best, whatever you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
All
thank you.
right. Well, Jennifer, thank you
All
again for
right.
being on the
Yes.
call. I enjoyed our
Thank
podcast
you.
today.
Yes.
All
Me too.
right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. All right. Sounds good. Bye.